The shifting sands of global alliances are moving fast, reshaping the very foundations of international relations before our eyes. What once seemed stable is now in flux, as nations reassess their roles and allegiances in a rapidly changing world. The world order, once defined by Western-led institutions and decades of established norms, is now uncertain. The familiar pillars of global cooperation are being questioned, and the balance of power is no longer as clear-cut as it once was. New powers are rising, demanding a seat at the table and a voice in shaping the future. Their ambitions are challenging the status quo, and their influence is growing stronger with each passing year. The BRICS group, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, now expanded to include new members, has become a symbol of an alternative vision for global governance, one that seeks to rebalance influence away from the traditional Western core. This bloc challenges the dominance of the G7 and institutions like the World Bank and IMF, questioning their legitimacy and pushing for reforms that reflect the interests of a broader, more diverse set of nations. In a surprising twist, two European nations, one an EU member, the other a candidate, are now openly exploring BRICS membership, signaling a willingness to look beyond traditional alliances for new opportunities and partnerships. This move could signal a crack in European unity and raises profound questions about the future of the European project. Is the continent's cohesion at risk, or is this simply a new phase in its evolution? Are we witnessing a major geopolitical fracture, a realignment that could reshape the world order, or just pragmatic maneuvering by smaller nations seeking leverage and security in uncertain times? The implications touch everything from trade and security to the core values of post-war Europe. Economic ties, military alliances, and even the principles of democracy and sovereignty are all in play. The decisions made in the coming months will echo for years, shaping the alliances of tomorrow and determining whether Europe remains united or becomes more fragmented. As of August 31st, 2025, we stand at a potential turning point in modern history. The choices made now will set the course for generations to come. The outcome will define the new contours of our global landscape, redrawing boundaries of influence and cooperation in ways we are only beginning to understand. This is a story that will affect us all, shaping not just the fate of nations, but the daily lives and futures of people everywhere.
To truly grasp the stakes in today's shifting world order, we first need to understand what the European Union and BRICS actually are, and why they matter so much on the global stage. The European Union, born from the ashes of World War II, is a unique political and economic union of 27 European states. It was created to foster peace, stability, and prosperity in a continent once torn apart by conflict. The EU is built on shared values of democracy, human rights, and the rule of law, aiming to prevent the tragedies of the past from repeating. It operates as a single market, enabling the free movement of goods, services, capital, and people across its member states. This integration has made daily life and business much easier for millions of Europeans. The EU's greatest strength lies in its unity and collective decision-making, but this can also be a weakness. Reaching consensus among so many diverse nations is often slow and challenging. In recent years, the EU has faced a series of major crises: financial turmoil, migration waves, the Brexit referendum, and even war on its borders. Each of these has tested the Union's cohesion and resilience, forcing it to adapt and evolve. BRICS, on the other hand, began as an informal alliance of emerging economies: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, who wanted a bigger voice in global affairs and to challenge the dominance of Western institutions. Unlike the EU, BRICS is a flexible bloc, not bound by treaties or a common legal framework. It has recently expanded to include influential countries like Saudi Arabia, Iran, and Egypt, reflecting its growing appeal and ambition. BRICS has established its own development bank and actively promotes trade in national currencies, aiming to reduce reliance on the US dollar and reshape the global financial system in favor of emerging economies. With its recent expansion, BRICS has significantly increased its economic and geopolitical weight, making it a formidable counterbalance to Western-led alliances. For many countries seeking alternatives to the Western-led order, BRICS is becoming an increasingly attractive option, offering new partnerships and opportunities. The EU and BRICS now represent two very different visions for the future of global governance, one rooted in established Western values, the other in emerging multipolar realities. The growing tension and competition between these blocs is now at the very heart of Europe, shaping debates and alliances. This is the context for Hungary and Serbia's eastward gaze, as they navigate a world where the balance of power is rapidly shifting.
Hungary, an EU member, and Serbia, an EU candidate, are openly considering BRICS. Both have long cultivated ties with Russia and China, often clashing with EU policies. Hungary's Eastern opening policy is about building relationships with rising Asian powers. Serbia, frustrated by slow EU accession, maintains deep ties with Russia and welcomes Chinese investment. Leaders in both countries frame BRICS as a pragmatic economic move, not just a political statement. They see BRICS as a gateway to fast-growing markets and investment without EU conditions. Engaging with BRICS asserts their sovereignty and signals to Brussels that they have other options. This is a strategic play to maximize autonomy and leverage in negotiations with the West. The eastward glance is both economic and political.
Hungary joining BRICS would shatter the EU's principle of common foreign policy. It would create a conflict of interest, forcing Hungary to choose sides on key issues. This move could paralyze EU decision-making and embolden other Eurosceptic governments. For Serbia, joining BRICS would likely end its EU accession hopes. The EU demands alignment with its foreign policy. Membership in a rival bloc is incompatible. Serbia would face a historic choice, Europe or the East. The ripple effects could destabilize the Western Balkans and embolden Russia and China. This is a direct challenge to decades of EU and US policy in the region.
This shift is about more than economics. It's about values. The EU stands for liberal democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. Hungary and Serbia have faced criticism for democratic backsliding. Leaders like Orban see the EU as overly interventionist, preferring illiberal democracy. BRICS offers a community where national sovereignty and traditional values are prioritized. For some, BRICS is a conservative counterweight to Western liberalism, but many citizens, especially the young and urban, still aspire to a modern, open Europe. Aligning with BRICS could deepen social divides and spark unrest. The choice is not just political, it's about national identity and the future.
Experts widely interpret Hungary's recent BRICS threat as a strategic move, using it as leverage in negotiations with the European Union, rather than a genuine intention to fully pivot away from the West. This calculated approach is seen as a way to maximize Hungary's influence within the EU, rather than to sever ties completely. Dr. Alina Petrovic, a leading political analyst, explains that Prime Minister Viktor Orbán is primarily seeking a special partnership status. His goal is to extract significant concessions from Brussels, such as increased funding or policy exemptions, by playing both sides. Professor David Chen points out that even the mere suggestion of Hungary joining BRICS sends ripples through Western alliances. This threat alone undermines Western unity and provides strategic advantages to China and Russia, who are eager to see cracks in the European front. Such maneuvering creates a wedge within both the EU and NATO, forcing Western leaders to divert attention and resources to managing internal divisions rather than focusing on external challenges. Dr. Marcus Weber, a cybersecurity expert, warns that if an EU member state were to align more closely with BRICS, it could seriously compromise European security. Sensitive information sharing and coordinated defense efforts could be put at risk. The risk extends far beyond economics. It strikes at the very core of Europe's security architecture, potentially weakening the continent's ability to respond to threats and maintain stability. Economist Sofia Gonzalez remains skeptical about the economic benefits for Hungary if it were to join BRICS. She argues that the potential gains are often overstated and do not account for the complexities of global trade. The BRICS bloc itself is highly diverse and fragmented, with significant trade barriers, competing interests, and ongoing rivalries that make unified action difficult. For Hungary, leaving the seamless and integrated EU market for the uncertain prospects of BRICS would be a leap of faith, fraught with economic and political risks. The loss of EU funds, investment, and privileged market access would likely outweigh any potential gains from BRICS membership, making the move a risky gamble. Ultimately, the continent now faces a high-stakes gamble with uncertain rewards and the possibility of long-term consequences for European cohesion. As these scenarios unfold, the future of European unity hangs in the balance, with leaders and citizens alike watching anxiously to see which path the continent will choose.
This European drama is part of the larger US-China rivalry, with Russia as a disruptor. Washington is alarmed, seeing a divided Europe as a weaker partner. The US will use diplomatic pressure and incentives to keep Hungary and Serbia aligned with the West. Beijing, meanwhile, frames BRICS as an escape from Western dominance and a victory for multipolarism. China welcomes new partners, seeing this as a strategic prize, gaining influence inside the EU. For China, it's a key move in reshaping the global order and challenging US leadership. The battle for Hungary and Serbia is a proxy for a much larger contest. The outcome will shape the future balance of power.
We are living through a period of profound global transformation. The story of Hungary and Serbia's gaze toward BRICS is a symptom of larger shifts. The post-Cold War era is over. A new era of geopolitical competition has begun. The EU faces a critical test. Can it adapt and maintain unity while addressing members' frustrations? The choices made now will define the new global order. Will Europe fragment into competing blocs, or find a way to cooperate amid rivalry? The risks are high, and the story is still unfolding. The future of alliances affects us all, our security, economy, and way of life. What do you think? Is this a pragmatic move or a dangerous gamble? Join the debate below.